Hello everyone, this is Toppy Pop from Shadowpop Games, and for Game Gamblers Gamer Tower Defense, I'm designing one character every day for 14 days, and this is day 1. So at the beginning of every character design, I always think about two things, the concept and the role of the character. So for the concept, I chose the Joker card, and for the role, I chose Card Dealer. And the reason why I chose the Card Dealer in this case is mainly just because the theme of our game is a casino, so I thought that was very thematic, but also I'm not the biggest fan of making the role of the character very obvious when you know the concept of the character. So right now I am doing the planning stage where I kind of just look through all my references that I grabbed based on the concept of the character and the role of the character, and just sort of like jot down what I like in terms of silhouettes, patterns, items that I see very often, or just ideas that I really like. As you can see here, I jotted down a bunch of things that I wanted the character to be like, so it's just a bit easier to like figure out what I want to draw. After the planning stage, we continue to the next stage, which is the posing stage. So the posing stage is very important because it's kind of just where we figure out the character's personality. A lot of people think that, it's the T-pose that we should draw, right? Because when you do T-poses, you can really clearly see the character's outfit and everything. But for this case, right, I don't know, I'm just not a big fan of T-posing. I think it's good for a character reference sheet, but specifically for actually character designing, I think drawing the proper pose of the character is a lot better because it allows you to really understand who you're drawing, right? Especially if you have the correct pose that you're going for. So in this case, my character, I wanted this character to be very playful, with a bit of slightly chaoticness in there. So it took a few attempts, because also this is like the first time I've drawn in a long time. But eventually, after drawing a bunch of poses, I kind of just liked the second pose that I drew. Yeah, I just liked it the most, so I just used that pose eventually, but I keep trying. I'm like, I don't know if I like the second pose, but no, I keep trying. And then eventually I choose the second pose. So there's a common thing that you're gonna see during this entire video, and I try to put bunny ears on the character's head. The reason why I try to do this is because bunny ears do look like the jester's hat, but you're gonna see it never proves to be the correct choice, because like every time I tried, I just was like, nah, this is not it. Now we're on stage 3, and stage 3 is going to be the drafting stage. So the drafting stage is not about making a full render, it's all about making a draft. That's why it's called the drafting stage. In fact, throughout my entire character design, there is no rendering stage. There's no full rendering stage at all. It's just drafting. But for the drafting, one thing you should make sure is to make it very clean. Because if you don't make it clean, later on when you want to actually render the character or draw like a full art of the character, you're going to realize that my design is so messy. How am I going to actually draw if I can't read my design? So make sure you make the design very like clean, like the draft very clean. Anatomy wise is not like, I think anatomy also is quite important. Because you can kind of understand sort of the silhouette and sort of the body type of the character if you draw in the actual drafting stage, but you don't have to be the most accurate, you just have to be good enough, right? So you can really just understand everything. And honestly, if there's things that you feel like you couldn't convey at the time in the draft, it's just better to put some notes inside. I don't do it in this one, but I usually sometimes do it. So right now I'm just trying to figure out sort of the silhouette of the character, and then from that I think about like, okay, how do I make clothes that fit the silhouette of the character? So one like thing I immediately thought about is making the twin tails very similar to a jester hat. I'm not a big fan of making the connection very obvious, and also because the character is not a jester, she's a card dealer, I thought that maybe a twin tail jester-like hat shape would work very well. In terms of the overall outfit, I wanted to make the outfit way more formal because she is a card dealer. Also, from looking at all the references, I try to put more spiky like clothes material things at the end of. I really don't know how to explain it, but it's basically like I just tried to add a bunch of like spiky stuff because in all the references there were a lot of spikiness in the Jester character outfits. Here I also changed the facial expression just to make it look more playful because before it looked way more surprised than playful. Again, with the bunny ears, I tried, didn't work, I moved on. Also, you see how like I have these spheres on the tail end of the ponytails and also like at the beginning? These like little like balls, right? I saw them very often in like all the reference images of all the jesters, right? So I kind of just thought, yeah, I should have these as well because it just makes it look like a jester. Yeah, as you can see, I put a bunch of spiky frills. I guess those are frills, right? I tried putting something on the head because I thought the head was missing something, but every time I put something, it just didn't work out. So in the end, I just decided, yeah, nah. Also, it kind of just ruins the sort of jester silhouettes, the jester hat silhouette, so that's why. I think that's why it just wasn't working out. I tried doing something here where I put like a tail end on the clothes, but I realized that it just did not work because it just made the silhouette too heavy at the bottom. So I just got rid of that and the bunny ears again. Yeah, I think in this case, I just try to figure out like what else I could improve here. I think right now I was like, oh, the hair doesn't look that good. So I tried adjusting the hair and eventually I stopped at this where I just kind of removed the side hair. And honestly, I really like this a lot better. So now we're going into the coloring, and the color palette was kind of difficult for me to figure out. Basically, I usually do my colors in three, like I separate them into three categories. So with the primary, the secondary, and the accents. So the primary is the most of that color. The secondary is like, it's like 60, 30, 10, if that makes sense. So for this one, if we actually look at any jester outfits, they don't really have this primary secondary accent. They just have primary and primary because it's always going to be split into two equal colors, right? And then they usually have an accent just to like sort of smooth that in, smooth those two colors. So in my case, like I try to copy the exact same idea where like we use two equally distributed colors and then just have an accent color sort of in between just to sort of make it feel a bit more connected. So I did a mostly red color palette for this, but I kind of didn't like it that much. It was too red for me. So later on you will see that I tried changing the color palettes and it just didn't work out. Like I just kept changing it. Like you can see right now I'm already trying like different color palettes. Like, oh, I'm trying blue, trying something else here also. Like, I don't know, I'm just trying a bunch of random things. So at this stage, I think it is the review stage where I kind of went back after taking a long break and pretty much try to see if I can elevate the design a bit. Here's one, like, this is a very tricky stage because you don't want to change too much, because if you change too much, you're making a completely new design and then you have to redo everything again, right? So just try not to change too much, just add, right? Just try to keep adding. Sometimes you can remove, but mostly try adding. So in my case, or at least in this case, it was all just the patterns, right? Like I was like thinking I need more uneven patterns just to really emphasize that chaotic nature of a jester. So you can see I tried a lot of color palettes. As I said before, I tried a more purple color palette and I did like it, but it just didn't scream jester to me when I looked at it as well. Like I just looked at it, I'm just like, nah, it doesn't really look like a jester that much. I think red is kind of necessary. So I decided to sort of just compromise and make the palette a red, purple, black kind of color scheme. And this is the final results. If you have a name for this character, please leave a comment and explain why you think this name fits, and I might choose it if it's a very good name. And until then, I'll see you next time for day 2.